So we have built the foundations for what to do right after being passed over for a promotion or a pay raise or both. And we did it through first understanding your boss's psychology and how it can work to your advantage, which I introduced in part 1 of this series. Then we have built on that to get to the right mentality that would work to your advantage. And we did this with a deep dive into the why you need to be a bad boy employee and getting that bad boy employee mentality just right, which I introduced in part 2. Now it's time to move ahead to the final step, which is the implementation of all of the above. But you can't implement before you've mastered those foundations. So hopefully you have watched parts 1 and 2 at least once by now, so we're all on the same page. Okay, let's get going. The number 4 do right after being passed over for a promotion or a pay raise or both is express your distress. You need to start paving a new road that will take you all the way to the next opportunity for a pay raise or promotion or both, and you need to do this out of the rubble that is your current political position at the office, together with your crushed self-esteem and a sprinkle of a sense of betrayal for good measure. This may sound too dramatic, but it's not. It's an accurate description of your emotional state at this time, isn't it? These are indeed the hallmarks of being passed over. And since this is your emotional state, you might be doing what many others tend to do in such a state, and that is going to your shell like a turtle or a snail, or being subdued in your expression of your distress, i.e., more of a good boy employee mentality and behavior. Now, express your distress is one of those steps where subtleties come into play again. So you need to make sure you understand what it is and what it is not. So in this video, you'll get the 5-step sequence of how to execute this, plus exact scripts with precise wording for you to say, plus how to actually assert yourself to your boss and colleagues right after being passed over for a promotion or pay raise or both in a way that will ensure it never happens again. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm the Boss Problem Buster, founder of the Pay Raise Commando. We train passed over corporate professionals like you to get that pay raise or promotion you deserve so that you can finally kill your Monday blues and bring your inner joy back, which is the best part about my job and the goal of this channel. Kill your Monday blues and bring your inner joy back. Express your distress does not mean being over-emotional, crying, collapsing, acting depressed and miserable, being overtly emotionally distraught, and altogether extremely touchy-feely. This is what it's not. It is, however, easily admitting to anyone at the office who cares to listen, yes, of course I'm upset, I'm extremely disappointed, and even deeply surprised, and yes, hurt. It is also okay if you walk around with a longer face than usual for some time. Just don't be all doom and gloom, because then you'll just repel people. Plus, you might project an air of emotional instability if you do that, which is obviously not what you want. So the trick is admitting what you are truly feeling without trying to hide it and having the body language to match, but, and here comes the subtlety, without being too emotionally needy or crossing the bounds of appropriate emotional expression in the workplace. This is true regarding your boss, your colleagues, and everybody you come in contact with at the office. You'd be surprised, but it also includes clients and vendors. With them, you should never initiate this conversation, but if it comes up, you should address it heads on without flinching. This is more likely to happen with long-time clients and vendors. They tend to be involved to some degree or another with many people across your department, sometimes to a degree of real friendships that have evolved over the years. So the grapevine regarding you being passed over is very likely to get to them as well, and they may address it, so you need to be prepared, which is what we're doing now. Also, they may be friends with you too, so they may feel close enough so that they can't afford not to touch on the subject. So if they initiate it, do not shy away from it, do not freeze, do not feel awkward or uncomfortable. I'm preparing you now so that that doesn't happen. Instead, do the following. And here comes the 5-step sequence with a precise wording I've promised before. First, acknowledge it. Yes, it's true. I was passed over. Then, admit your feelings that are normal human feelings to have. Anybody would have those feelings under the same circumstances. So, yes, I'm very disappointed and upset. And here comes the most important part. It has to do with your professionalism. So this you obviously do with your boss and colleagues as well, not just clients and vendors. Stress that those feelings do not have anything to do with your commitment to the project you're working on together. Then add, because I am a professional, and then finish with a note of hope that also shows resilience on your part. I'm sure there will be other opportunities, so I'll just up my game even further. Now, remember the sophistication and subtleties I keep talking about? Well, here's another example of that and why it is so important. Note my very precise wording, I'll just up my game even further. There are 3 subtleties here. A, it's not that my game was down up till now. No, on the contrary, it was high all along. It's just that now I'm going to up it even further. B, therefore, I was actually deserving of that promotion and or pay raise I didn't get. And C, therefore, surely you should be on my side. Then smile and revert back to business talk, which will be your signal to them of your boundary regarding this personal short conversation, so that it doesn't drag and doesn't make your failure the focus of your communication with that other person. Being able to understand those layers that you need to address is the subtlety. And being able to express this subtlety in words and without saying the thing itself, but just making the listener infer what you want them to, this is sophistication. To illustrate this even more, think of the iconic Seinfeld episode of being master of your domain. Enough said. So the full sequence is of 5-step and is very short as to not to be oppressive both to you and your counterpart. 1, admit you're upset. 2, keep your boundaries. So for example, if you're devastated, don't show them that. You don't want them to think you're unstable. 3, assure it does not affect your performance nor any of your relationships at the office, i.e. you're a professional. 4, express hope for the future to show your resilience. And 5, pivot back to the business at hand, which is yet another manifestation of your professionalism. You don't dwell on or wallow in your own emotions, but instead you are plowing ahead, onwards and upwards. So it's just a quick in and out, and boom, you nailed it. Why is this do, express your distress, so crucial? We're at do number 4 out of 8. So we're halfway there. Hang on. What is the psychological and practical aspects of this 4th do? There are 4 reasons why express your distress is so crucial. They are intertwined, and yet it is important to understand each in and of itself. Reason number 1 why express your distress is crucial is not showing emotions, especially when they are humanly called for, will not only not endear you to people, but also will make you look like a freak. Plus, this might disqualify you from a promotion because managing people requires emotional sophistication and subtleties, as neither you nor your potential subordinates are robots. So, showing the corresponding emotion to the situation at hand, in your case, the heartbreak of being passed over, is crucial. With, of course, the caveat that I've already addressed, that it shouldn't be excessively emotional or not appropriately emotional. We don't want to overdo it, hence my constant emphasis on sophistication and subtlety. Remember we've said you're not Larry David? Well, you're not Mr. Spock either. Sorry to step all over your artistic pretensions. But seriously, it is because you're not Mr. Spock that expressing no emotion whatsoever, especially when it is absolutely called for and reasonable, makes you a Vulcan. But unlike Mr. Spock, no one is going to revere you for that. Reason number 2 why express your distress is so crucial. When one does not express an emotion that is corresponding to the situation at hand, people might be confused as to what this person is truly about, and they might get suspicious because anything that is confusing to people, i.e., anything that doesn't follow common social scripts and behaviors, seems awkward and therefore creates discomfort, which in turn might lead to suspicion regarding that person. You don't want to be on the other end of that suspicion. Reason number 3 why express your distress is so crucial. When you're very subdued and Mr. Spock-y instead of upset, it is confusing to people in yet another way. They don't know how to behave around you. They take their cues from you on whether to address the issue of you being passed over or not, whether to console you or not, whether to approach you or avoid you, and so forth. You don't want to be in this position either. It's not conducive to what I call your office politics ranking, not to say rating. And surely you see how this bad ranking or rating is not conducing for a promotion or a pay raise or both. By the way, the good news is that most people, once you've expressed your distress to them, will be empathetic unless they dislike you, which will make them gloat, but probably only behind your back. So most people will be empathetic and will even be extra considerate for a short period of time after the matter. So you may even gain some slack cutting from everybody around you. Not that it is your goal, of course, but not too shabby. And since you're emotionally beaten, any slack cut your way and any goodwill would naturally be appreciated, won't they? Reason number 4 why express your distress is so crucial is the most crucial of them all. If passing you over for a promotion or a pay raise or both doesn't evoke any emotion in you, any overt reaction, any disappointment, know that your boss might be inclined to deduce that it wasn't that important to you, that it wasn't that big of a deal to you, and therefore he might be reinforced in his decision to pass you over this time. And worse, he might take you out of the game completely for next time, because if it doesn't impact you, you probably don't want it as badly as the other candidates. Thus, he would much rather give it to them. Somebody who really wants it badly. Because the assumption is that the degree of wanting is a marker of the degree of motivation. See how being a good boy employee and being very subdued in your reaction harms you? Because it absolutely does, and hopefully I have proven it to you by now. To sum this up, you must understand that you expressing your distress, as this do number 4 suggests, is not so much about you, in an odd kind of way, as it is about how people perceive you, your boss most of all. So regardless of what you feel comfortable doing, regardless of what you actually feel, say you're not devastated for whatever reason, you still need to be very conscious of the degree of emotion that you need to express in order to be in the game the next time round. Bet nobody told you any of that, right? That's why you're here on this channel. So if you want to see more, subscribe, hit the notification bell and the like button. Now, once you've done all of the above, you have perfected the psychological and political and behavioral basis needed to go on to the next do, which is derived directly from this one and would be impossible to implement without it. Indeed, they are to be implemented concurrently. So the number 5 do, what to do right after being passed over for a promotion or a pay raise or both, is assert yourself to your boss and colleagues alike. Why? Because an overlooked crucial part of getting things is verbalizing you want them, first to yourself, then to others. Let me stress something here, because I would hate to be misunderstood on anything, but especially on this one. When I say a crucial part of getting things you want is to verbalize them, this is not some manifestation bullshit of some secret con. There is no secret here in that regard. I can't stress this enough. Oh wait, with them it wasn't verbalizing, but posting on a vision board and then just letting the universe come to you. Okay, by the way, no harm in doing a vision board as long as you act on it. Make a plan, acquire the relevant skills, and execute. Execute whatever it is that will get you what's on the board, which is the part they forgot to mention. So you have a generation of vision boarders sitting on their ass passively, waiting for things to happen, which is the quintessential opposite of what I'm saying. So much so that I even coined a term for it, the Sleeping Beauty Syndrome. But don't get me started on this. Just know that when and if I use the word secret, it is only in its dictionary literal meaning, something people don't know, and in this case, something most career coaches, consultants, and their ilk don't know either, nor understand, nor ever talk about. Incompetence that drives me crazy, which is why I am compelled to do what I do and say what I say. Okay, enough of that. So back to the number 5 do, what to do, which is assert yourself to your boss and colleagues alike, and the crucial part of getting things, which is verbalizing you want them. Now, the fact that you say you want something obviously does not mean you're going to get it. The point is, if nobody knows that you want the blank, whatever it is, and it is in their power to grant it to you or not to grant it, so you are dependent on them, then if you don't verbalize it, you're stacking up the odds against yourself because they don't know. Not that if they knew, they would have automatically granted you the thing. Of course not. But at least you would have been in the game, in their head, through their decision-making process. This is true for anything you desire where you are dependent on others in getting it. So it goes way beyond the realm of work alone. By the way, here's a fun fact. Alfred Hitchcock, the acclaimed director, called it a MacGuffin, the thing that the hero is after, whatever it is that motivates him to go in his hero's journey, or hers. Since you are the hero in this story, your MacGuffin is that promotion and or pay raise. Although it turns out the creator of the MacGuffin was not Hitchcock, but a British screenwriter by the name of Angus MacPhail, who worked with Hitchcock. Anyway, the MacGuffin is the well-known term in film lingo ever since. So there you go, some old Hollywood trivia that is pertinent to our discussion and that you may nonchalantly pull out of your sleeve at some cocktail party. Okay, enough of that, back to the salt mines. The point is, if nobody knows what you want, what you're after, what your MacGuffin is, trusting that people would somehow be able to look into your heart and know your desires, this is impractical. This is not based in reality. People rarely get what they want in this Sleeping Beauty kind of way, where you are completely passive about it. Even a lottery ticket, you still have to go out there and buy one. So be active in all the ways I'm laying here before you. Now, even if people know what your MacGuffin is, your boss first and foremost, or at least they suspect you want that MacGuffin, in your case the promotion or pay raise, as long as you don't articulate it to them, then for all intents and purposes, especially in the eyes of your boss, you are a good boy employee, the one who will quietly accept any outcome being passed over included. Therefore, your boss would rather give the promotion or pay raise to the bad boy employee who keeps yapping about it all day long in a full-on attrition warfare, and would give said boss hell if he or she doesn't get their MacGuffin, which, unfortunately for you, happens to be the same as yours. See how it all comes together with everything we've spoken about regarding your boss's psychology? To brush up on that, if you like, check out the link for part 1 in the description below. So to sum up, we've seen 3 reasons for the assert yourself to your boss and colleagues alike, which is the number 5 do, what to do, right after being passed over for a promotion or a pay raise or both. Technical, pragmatic reason, which is if you don't tell them, they don't know. A political reason for the assert yourself, which is if you don't tell them, they can pretend not to know, or they may assume you want it, but also assume you don't want it as bad as the next guy or girl who keep yapping about it all day long. A third reason why you should assert yourself is the psychological one. Good boys finish last. This one deserves some iteration, so for that, let's go back to the parents and children analogy we've used before. You know how parents say no until the child exhausts them with a constant barrage of unbelievable nagging until they finally say yes? This is similar to what a bad boy does and a good boy doesn't. You already know you have to have a bad boy employee mentality, so let that be your workplace North Star. Now let me add one last reason to assert yourself. Number 4, which will conclude this video. So after the technical, the political, and the psychological, number 4 is motivational. Once you state openly, overtly, and constantly, I want that. This is what I'm after. This is what I'm here for. And you add, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there. not in a psychopathic way of stepping all over people or stabbing them in the back, but in a productive way that signals and proves your sheer motivation. I'm willing to put in the extra work. I'm willing to bust my ass for this company. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it, even at the expense of my personal life, comfort, energy, whatever it takes. No boss can stand in the way of such commitment and motivation. No one. I'm not telling you you must sacrifice your personal life. It is your choice whether to do it, and if so, to what degree. What I am telling you is how it looks from the other side. I'm giving you a peek behind the curtain to your boss's perspective. Armed with this understanding, make your own choices.